Manchester by the Sea was directed by Kenneth Lonergan and it stars Casey Affleck, Michelle Williams, and Lucas Hedges. As I previously told you, I'm going to review each one of the movies that I think are going to be nominated for the Oscars this year, and in all honesty, I probably won't be able to get to all of them, but I'll try to get as many as I can. And let me say, with all of the sequels, reboots, remakes, and cinematic universe flicks, it feels very refreshing to see a movie that's just completely original. It's just a movie. It's an original movie. And it's been a while since I've sat down and reviewed just a straight up movie. Going into this movie, I knew literally nothing. I didn't see any trailers, I didn't know anything about the plot. The only thing I was going off of was Casey Affleck's involvement and the poster. So today I'm going to get into as little plot as possible, because going into this movie kind of clean is a really nice experience. So don't watch any trailers, because I feel like they do give away a little bit too much about the plot, because I watched a few after watching the movie and it's like, yeah, no, they messed up. Casey Affleck plays working man Lee Chandler. Chandler has a troubled past but is called back home due to a death in the family. While he's home, demons from his past surface. Because in Manchester you can't drown your demons, because they swim in the sea by Manchester. That was a lot funnier in my head. I'm sure right now the plot doesn't really jump out at you, but it's really the presentation of it that grabs you. The plot of this movie reminds me a lot of the 70s Jack Nicholson flick, Five Easy Pieces. There's a lot of similar themes between Five Easy Pieces and Manchester by the Sea. Go check that movie out and then watch Manchester, or vice versa, and tell me there's not similarities between the two. I've never seen a film where everything just felt as real as this movie did. The writing is heart-wrenching, but not in an over-the-top, depressing way. It doesn't beat you over the head with the sad stuff. It's sad, but in a very natural way. Every tone of this movie just flowed, from drama to comedy. It all melded very well without feeling too clunky, which some movies, they try to do the funny thing and they try to do the sad thing, and the two things just don't mesh well. But with this, it just flowed, man. It was smooth. It was smooth sailing on the sea by Manchester. Manchester by the Sea. And for some reason, if you think this is going to be like every other movie that you've seen, if you're expecting just a movie to watch, just a movie, you're going to be disappointed, because this isn't just a movie. This isn't a blockbuster. This isn't something you see every day. This is definitely a character piece. It's not action-packed, it's not fast-paced, and it's definitely not for everybody. If you enjoy slow burn character pieces where you just learn about a character and the character just unravels for you, you're gonna dig this. But if you want an explosion, you're gonna go have to see something else. And speaking of which, it was just one of the most surreal movie experiences I've ever had at the theaters, because so we're halfway through the movie, right? The audience is dead silent, because it's not like a talking movie. There's nothing really to talk about other than cool shots and stuff or good acting. And it's a very quiet scene in the movie. And in the very back row, the loudest I've ever heard anyone talk in a movie theater, this little old woman just out of nowhere turns to her friend and says, "Are you enjoying this film? I've never been more bored in my entire life." It was one of those moments where the entire theater just giggled to themselves a little bit, and there's this nice moment that just me in a room full of strangers shared together. It was just this little thing that we'll all remember for the rest of our lives. The plot of this film does not hold your hand. It assumes that you have the brain power to figure out what's going on, which is such a relief, because most movies now just beat you over the head with exposition, especially with all of the Marvel movies, all the superhero movies, and all the franchise movies that I've been watching recently. It's just really nice to watch a movie that just lets the movie happen and lets you take it in. It jumps in time a few times. It's told out of order chronologically, and it never blatantly says 1985, 1996. It just kind of jumps there. It reminds me a lot of 8.5 that way, because 8.5, there's a lot of dream sequences, but they just happen. They don't tell you they're happening. It's just something weird's happening and you're like, okay, this is probably a dream sequence. It just flowed like that, and it just makes the movie happen so much smoother by not taking a break and saying, hey, we're in a different time now. Just lets it happen. It just tells you the story the way it wants to be told. More than anything, this movie's a character piece, it really is. It also doesn't hurt that the actors playing these characters make their written counterparts come alive more than I've seen in like any movie in the recent years. There's been a lot of buzz surrounding Casey Affleck's performance in this film, and it's well deserved. You feel for this character and have more than enough reasons to relate to him, while not necessarily liking him. What I appreciated most about Affleck's performance in this was it wasn't super over the top. You get these like Oscar baity movies, and the actor is just crying the whole time. Like their face gets red and tears are just streaming out, and they're sobbing the whole movie. And I just feel like that's such an easy Oscar nab, you know, just to be a person either in a wheelchair or with some kind of disease or just crying the whole time. I feel like that's like the go-tos of the Oscars. It's just like if they're crying the whole time, if they're sad the whole time. But the thing with Casey Affleck's performance in this was it was very subdued. It was very subtle. Like he went through a lot of sad stuff, but he wasn't bawling the whole time. You could tell that he wanted to cry, but he couldn't because he's an actual guy. And actual guys don't like just straight up sobbing all the time. So personally, I think it's the best performance of the year, frankly because of how subdued it is, how subtle it is. You could see that he had pain from his past, but he didn't always have to express it. Matching Affleck's powerhouse performance is co-star Michelle Williams. Without giving away too many plot details, she goes through a barrage of heartbreak, and Williams portrays it with skill. She's definitely going to get nominated, and hopefully she wins for Best Supporting Actress, because everyone who leaves this film talks about her performance in this movie. It's and I can't even talk about it, you know, because I don't want to give away too many plot details. But easily the Best Supporting Actress role of the year. It's gonna go to her. She's gonna get it. But award or not, it's definitely a great performance, one of the best of the year, and she's gonna be remembered for this movie. This is the movie that people are going to look to her and say, hey, that was really good. And hopefully this gets her more roles, because I've seen her in a few things, but not anything like really big. So I hope this like opens some eyes to Michelle Williams and she gets some bigger stuff. Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams are great in this movie, but I knew they were great before this movie. You know what I'm saying? They were good actors before this movie happened. This movie just showcased that. But the standout performance that really took me by surprise in this movie was Lucas Hedges. He plays Casey Affleck's nephew and has a much bigger role than I anticipated. Anyway, this young actor held his own among the sea of great performances in this film. Get it? Sea of great performances? Because it's Manchester by the Sea? Oh man, I'm on a roll today. When this character was introduced...
Introduced.
When this character was introduced, I thought he was going to be the cliche pissy teen character, and I was a little bit worried that he was going to drag the movie down a little bit. To my pleasant surprise, he played one of the most realistic teens I've ever seen in a movie. Hopefully after this role, he starts becoming a bigger name because he really deserves it. There were so many genuine performances in this movie. With lesser performers, this film could have very easily slipped through the cracks. This might have been my favorite movie of 2016, based on performances alone. It's a tie right now. There's three of them. There's three of them. And it's a tie between Manchester by the Sea, Hunt for the Wilderpeople, and La La Land. I'll figure that out for you guys. I'll get back to you on that. Everything in this movie just worked. From fantastic writing to very subtle directing and equally subtle acting. It was a masterpiece. Even the score was very unique. It felt very classical, which you don't see in many movies now. But it was this very classical theme, and it played all throughout, no matter the tone of the scene. It just made everything flow and feel like one coherent thing. Really, the only con that I can give this movie was the length. And it's not even to say that the movie drags on. It's interesting all throughout, even though it's like 2.5 hours long. But I might have to watch it again when I don't really have to pee, because it hit me like an hour into the movie. And I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to miss any scenes, so I had to hold it for like a solid hour and a half. That last half hour of the movie, man, it got pretty rough. So overall, I'm going to give Manchester by the Sea 9.7 out of 10. And once again, thank you. We're back, we're doing stuff and things. Pretty soon there will be more Oscar-worthy reviews coming out, and a special announcement on my La La Land review. So if you've seen La La Land, you know that it's about aspiring actors and people who want to get their name out there. So I figured with the review, I wanna have that same message too. In La La Land, there's a song titled City of Stars, and if you want to help us out on the next review, record yourself singing City of Stars, and we're gonna add you in a little montage. We're gonna have all of the aspiring actors, actresses, singers in this little montage with City of Stars playing, and it's gonna look really nice. It's gonna look real pretty, and I've got big hopes for it. So if you want to help us with that, I'm going to leave a link down below in the little description area. When you do a video that has all the lyrics and the songs, and it'll help me out a lot if you just sing it in the video with like an earbud in, if like you need the music going, because it'll be nice to just have no background music so I can edit it better, but whatever you gotta do, do it. I can work around it. I just want to get you out there. So thank you again, and as always, I gotta scoot up for this with the new computer chair. Alright. Watch movies, my friends.